Class, we are back again, and this time we are going to discuss sharps, flats, and naturals, which are otherwise known as accidentals. So we've discussed rhythm extensively, and now we're going to go back to pitch, and we're going to start discussing the relationship that one pitch has to another. To do that, we're going to look at the piano keyboard, which has, as you know, a visual pattern to help us figure things out. So to start with, taking a look at the white keys. Every white key has at least one black key that is right next to us. And we can also see there are a couple places where there are no black keys. The distance between adjacent keys on the keyboard is called a half step. So you can see in the diagram that we've got some half steps between a black key and a white key in some places, and others where we have it between two white keys. So the half step is the smallest difference in pitch on the keyboard. It's important to note that there are some other instruments that will actually play smaller intervals, but that's not the way Western music is generally written. So just want to throw that out there. So if you go directly from note to note without skipping any notes in between on the keyboard, that is a half step. So the next question is, how many half steps make up the octave? And if you count them out, and what we're going to do is we're going to count the movement from one key to another. So trying to do this so that you guys can see it on the keyboard. So the movement from, here is my C. Let's kind of make it a little bit bigger. We're going to start there. So we're going to just sort of do like a little curvy thingy writing so you can see that movement. So the distance from C to C, that's one octave, right? So we're going to say the movement is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That worked pretty well. 12 half steps in one octave. So that's the first thing I want you to get in your brain. We're going to count half steps, and we have to count the movement of the half steps. It's like, I don't know how you do it when you're thinking, how many hours is there between, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock? And you're just like, well, 10 to 11 to 12 to 1 to 2. I'm counting the hours, right? Now I can count from like 5 to 9 o'clock, 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, 4 hours. So you're counting the movement. When we talk about half steps, we want to count the movement, right? Okay. So going on. If we put two halves together, we get a whole. 2 half steps equals 1 whole step. And let's take a look at these whole steps, because there's some places where things get a little confusing, right? And those places are on the keyboard where there are no black keys, right? We have that distinctive pattern of the keyboard, which only happens because we're actually missing black keys in a couple of places. So here between the E and the F, and here between the B and the C, right? We are basically missing a half step. There's no black key between them. So it can throw us off a little bit. You can't just say that from one white key to the next white key is a whole step, or from one black key to the next black key is a whole step. So it can throw a little bit of confusion in it. So here we have, you can see I've got the half steps pointed out right up here, okay? And then we've got the whole steps up at the top. So if we look at this, we can see that the half steps that are easy to figure out are in red. The whole steps that are easy to figure out are in blue. And then we have the green ones in there that just sort of make everything a little bit weird. So Those easy whole steps are from white key to white key. Here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. Not so easy is when we've got, that's pointing from this E flat here, you can see that, to the F here. That's a whole step. Or from the B flat here to the C. That's a whole step. Those are the things that can throw us off. All right? So we're going to go back and we're going to look at how the lines and spaces on the grand staff line up directly to the piano, which I believe we've looked at before. But if you take a closer look at it, you will notice that it's only the white keys that line up directly with the grand staff, right? So what do I do about the black keys? How do I discuss those whole steps and half steps? Well, we use something called accidentals, right? And an accidental can tell you to raise or lower a given note or cancel out a previous accidental or pitch. So we're going to start with the sharp sign, which the common joke running among music teachers is that it's not a hashtag. And a sharp sign tells you to raise a note by a half step. Okay? So let's look at some of these. Here we have one octave shown on the piano. And let's notate some notes on the treble clef. So if we say that this note right here is middle C, right? What is the black key immediately next to it to the right or above it? Because when we go from left to right on the piano, we'll see this is backwards in the thing. Let's forget how cameras go. Left to right. You get the idea. Left to right on the piano means that the notes are getting higher in pitch. So if I go here and say that this is middle C, then the note that is a half step above it is going to be C sharp. And easily enough, I can write that on my staff there. Okay? Let's just say I wanted to identify F. The note immediately above it, right? One half step, F becomes F sharp. One thing to remember is that the sharp sign goes before the note on the staff and after the letter name if you're writing about it. So let's try A sharp. I'm going to put that sharp before the note on the staff, but when I'm writing about it or answering a question of that kind, I will say A sharp. Okay, it's really, really important to remember. Okay, so let's do a couple more sharp examples because I want to show you something. Okay, if I look at this keyboard and I say, where is E sharp on the keyboard? And you're like, well, here's E, which means the note directly to the right, half step up, must be E sharp. You're like, yeah, but that's an F. Wait, what? Okay, yeah, so they're the same note. We get the same conundrum when we go and we talk about B sharp. It's also the same note as C. Yeah, they're the same note. We're going to come back to this in a minute, but I just wanted to point that out. Yet again, those spots on the piano that help us see the pattern also can cause issues when we're trying to identify notes by the correct name. It is really, really important that we have that pattern on the piano. Visually, it is just so important to be able to look at the piano keyboard, which translates into the marimba or the xylophone, other notes that use the same keyboard, the organ, the harpsichord. Having those spots where there are no black keys really help our eyes and our brains to see the pattern and to figure out where we are. If there were no spaces where there are no black keys on the keyboard, you'd just be like, Nope, I got nothing. Really, really important to point that out. Okay, so let's go over to the flat sign, which of course lowers a note by a half step. So let's say if I want to say A, going down a half step to this note here, simple enough, it's going to be an A flat, right? How about D? Here it is on the piano keyboard, and I want to go down a half step. It's going to be D flat with my sad little notes. I'm much better at this when I'm writing on a board, chalkboard or a whiteboard, but it is what it is. I'm doing it on my iPad so that you guys can follow along. Okay? Another reminder, of course, is the same thing when you're drawing the flat sign. You draw it before the note on the staff. So here's B flat. If you're going to write it out, spell it, you're going to say B flat. Very, very important. Okay. So again, let's look and see where things can throw us off a little bit. Okay. Here we have on the keyboard a note that could be called C flat, but it's actually also a B, right? Here we have on the keyboard something that could be known as F flat, but it's also an E. As before, those are the same notes, right? They are the same notes. What the heck is this thing, right? I gave you the examples that point out those little weird spots on the keyboard. But the fact of the matter is, we have a lot of things that are the same note that we give different names. We're going to watch a video clip from one of my favorite movies, and I want to see if you can pick up some interesting musical things from this clip. So let's watch this clip.
What is that? Disgusting. You. Wow. Gnarly. That's atrocious, you guys. Help him, hurry up. What are you doing? Knuckling around and letting him get away. What's the matter with you two? To move on, play the tune as each note is said. If you make too many mistakes, ye will surely be muerto.
What is that? Come on.
Dead.
I mean, we gotta play the bones to get out of here.
Exactly.
Were they out there? Hurry up!
You guys, look! There are notes on this! Andy, you took piano lessons. I was 4 years old. You wanted to be 17? Hit it! I'm trying to find middle C. This is nothing like my mother's Steinway. Do something, Chloe! Okay, the first chord, I think, is, chord, Eddie.
My God, it's working! It's working! You did it! Wow. Way to go, Andy! Way to go!
I'm coming back in now.
You can do it.
Okay. C sharp D. Remember those lessons and play it right, please. They come, guys! They're down there! They're coming up! What should I do?
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Andy, I believe in you. Goonies always make mistakes. Just don't make any more. Come on. Sorry. Where was I? A flat. Play it! Hey, you guys! They're gone! They're not here! A sharp, or if it's a B flat. If you get the wrong note, we'll all be flat.
Give me the gun! Here!
Let's go! Red, wait!
What? What are you doing? Get out! Go!
Okay, so again, one of my favorite movies, but when the first time I watched this, I was 15 years old, and the first thing I looked at it, I was like, that is clearly not chords in that sheet music that she's playing. There's like a little tune. I was like, she's playing chords. There's a tune. Was there no one on set who could be like, hey, you messed that up. If you really want her to play chords, you should put chords in the sheet music. Hello. But the joke of the scene is that she goes, I don't know whether this is A sharp or B flat. It's the same note, right? Same note. So here's another another one to look at, right? C flat is the same as B flat, or B, excuse me, goodness gracious. C flat is the same as B. F flat is the same as E. B sharp is the same as C. E sharp is the same as F. Those are all those problem spots. B flat is the same as A sharp. Wait, what? Right? What's that all about? Well, if we can spell a note two different ways, spelling, we call them enharmonic equivalents. And by the way, you can spell any note more than one way. So if we look at this keyboard here, it's a little crazy, but you can see they have given you information on different ways to spell things. And they've done it specifically here on the black keys. So let's pick an easy one out. We'll just go right to that. So this could be C sharp or D flat, right? Here's another one. Let's say here, the one that we talked about before, this could be A sharp or B flat. This could be G flat or F sharp, right? They're enharmonic equivalents. So how do you know which one to choose? Well, which one to choose depends upon the key signature, which we are going to learn the key signatures very soon. So if I'm in the key of, we're just going to go with something really easy, C major, right? No sharps or flats in the key of C. I'm not going to refer to F as E sharp because it's not in the key. So it depends on the key signature. All right, here goes another fun thing with double sharps and double flats. What? Sometimes because of the rules of music, we actually need two sharps or two flats because we just like, hey, I'm in the key of E flat, but I actually want to flat a note a little further. I want to take it down a half step. So I'll use a double flat, or the reverse is true for the double sharps. So we have here double sharps and double flats. A double sharp raises a note by two half steps, or what we know as a whole step. And a double flat does the same thing in the opposite direction. So let us look at let's pick a good note out here. If I say I want F double sharp, I'll put an X in front of it. The thing here is kind of a fancy X, but whatever. F double sharp, right? What I'm actually going to play on the piano is the G. Wait, what? Raise it a whole step. Or if I want to go in the opposite direction, I could say I'm going to refer to, let's see, that G as an A double flat. F double sharp and A double flat are the same note. Talk about your enharmonic equivalence. So it really, again, just depends on what key you're in. All right? Don't let that confuse you too terribly much. All right, looking at the piano again, if I'm thinking, okay, I want to find an F double flat, right? Here's my F, and I want to go down a whole step. So 2 half steps, 1, 2. So an F double flat is the same thing as an E flat or a D sharp. Whew. It's not always cut and dry, right? Because again of the pattern on the piano. And also that just correlates to the pattern of the notes of an octave. Okay? All right, going on, we have the natural sign. What if we only want to raise or lower the note once? We can use the natural sign to indicate we're not going to do it the next time around, right? So we're going to use the natural sign to basically cancel out previous accidentals. So if I was doing some music and I said, okay, I want you to play an A flat, but the very next time you play that, I want you to play an A natural, I'm canceling it out, right? Here you can see in one measure, they said, hey, play an F sharp. And they're like, okay, now we're going to cancel out and play a natural right here. Another thing that's also going to cancel out the accidentals is a bar line. So here we have the bar line right here. And let's I'm going to walk you through this. It's all printed out on the page, but it's a little confusing. So it tells us to play a G and then a C. And this says play a B flat. This next note here is still a B flat. We haven't canceled it out with a natural sign. So then we cross the bar line. Here we go. Here's the bar line right here. This note right here is once again a B natural because the bar line canceled it out. Then we're saying, hey, play a B flat. Then we give it the B natural to tell us to cancel out that B flat. Okay? So you've got the explanation down here, but I just wanted to walk you through that. It's a little confusing. Okay. Now we get to an official discussion of key signatures, just the introduction. So what if we have a song and we want to tell the singers, the players, the musicians that we want to sharp all the F's in a song or flat all the B's? How do we do that? Well, we're going to indicate this in the beginning of the song, right? We are going to use that to tell us which notes to alter through the entire song. So we can see here that we've got a song, Dona Nobis Pacem, right? And right at the beginning, we are using the key signature right there to tell us that we're going to flat all the B's in the song. Okay? Now, same song, different key. Still the same song. We've just moved it to a different key. Let's see which one of these. Just a little higher. So this one is a whole step lower than the second one. All right? So same song, different keys, right? Here we are. So if the accidental is in the key signature, right here or here, the bar line is not going to cancel it out. If you want to cancel it out, you're going to have to use an accidental, otherwise known as the natural sign, right? You have to use the natural sign, which is then canceled out by the bar line, okay? A lot of things going on here, a lot of moving parts, but this is the exact same piece. So if I get out my handy dandy iPhone keyboard, which is a little sad, I get it. So let's see. Ooh, too high, too low. There it is. So the first one is do, non, no, bis, right? Pacem, pacem. That's what I get for not warming up before I teach you. So that's the first key. The next one is whoop, wrong note. This is why I'm not a keyboard player. There it is. Do, non, no, bis, pacem, pacem. Same song, different key. I want you to just kind of keep that floating around in your head. We're going to talk about key signatures very soon, but I don't want you to think that any particular song is like married to a certain key. You can put them into a different key. Something really, really important to remember. Okay, let's move on. Put away my sad little iPhone keyboard. And let's talk a little bit more about writing half steps, because we have some basic rules for notating half steps and whole steps. So we're going to start with the half step. You can do them a couple of different ways. You can write them as the same note, letter note, with accidentals. So here we have, say, D going up a half step to D sharp, right? Writing a half step, okay? Or you can have them adjacent notes with possible accidentals. So let me see if I can write this a little bit more clearly. Let's do that D and D sharp again. So here's D, a little bit smaller, and D sharp. Or we could say, let me just kind of put a squiggle through here so you know that I'm notating D to E flat. So you can write them as the same note with accidentals over here, D and D sharp, or adjacent notes with possibly with accidentals, right? So I could take this up a little bit higher just to kind of show you again. So B and B flat, or I might say B and A sharp, right? Again, different ways to write things. So always again, remember the accidental comes before the note and after the letter name. Okay, so just really important to remember that. So half steps, we have a little bit of wiggle room in how we notate them. Whole steps, on the other hand, we need to write them as two adjacent notes. So here is the correct way to write a whole step. G to A. Perfect. If I write G and I say a whole step up is B double flat, that is incorrect. That is not actually a whole step, even though it sounds like one to our ears. That is a diminished third. What? Spelling counts. So like I said, we have a little bit of leeway with writing our half steps, like F to F sharp or F to G flat. A little bit of leeway. When we get to whole steps and the rest of the intervals, spelling really counts. So a lot to absorb, but I think you're hopefully on the right track. The next thing that you will be doing is a Kahoot for sharps, flats, and naturals. So hopefully that will help you out to get this ingrained a little bit more. You've got some Practica Musica exercises. Practice makes perfect on this stuff. So hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.